There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac, and it's time for another Tipsy Tag. I haven't done a Tipsy Tag. I don't remember. Have I done one this year? It's time. It's past time. So I have chosen the lucky recipient of my Tipsy Tag attention is a fairly new channel on BookTube that is just landed with a splash and is one that I have a lot of respect for, in spite of what I'm going to do to his tag. Brandon of Brandon's Bookshelf. He arrived on BookTube fully formed. I'm just so impressed with what he's doing. We have a lot of differences in our reading tastes and a lot of similarities, and I really appreciate the support he's given me and my channel, and I am doing this tag out of respect for him, despite the rather irreverent tone I might take with some of these prompts. This is the Philosophy of Reading tag, and I ran screaming to the other room when I found out the title of this tag because I hate philosophy. Brandon loves to wax philosophical on his channel, and one of these days I'm going to summon up the gumption to actually listen to those videos, but it's not so much that I hate philosophy as that I just don't get it. I don't understand why it exists. I didn't take a first-year philosophy course at university, but I did take a upper year, second or third year class on the philosophy of sexuality, and by the end of that, I realized I really like sex, but I hate philosophy. And I always remember my grandmother, who graduated from the same university I did. I graduated with a BA from the University of Saskatchewan in 1988, and my grandmother graduated from the same university in 1920, and she always used to laugh about one of the first essays she had to write at university was The Philosophical Meaning of Chocolate. So there you go. Anyway, that's not... let's get on with the tag, because the questions are not all that philosophical, actually. They're just interesting, great questions. Number 1, what's most important, a good character, plot, or message? I am firmly planted in the character camp. I am a character-driven reader, so if the characters don't jump off the page, or if they are not complex enough, if I feel they are in service to the plot and are too flat, then it's not a good reading experience for me. By the way, all of my answers to these questions will be focused on fiction, because that's the only thing that I really care about. I read nonfiction for information, but I only really care about fiction. I have enjoyed many a plot-driven novel, but ultimately, if the characters don't speak to me, it's not a 5-star read. And message, as a fictional reader, I'm not looking for a message of any kind. So if the message is separable from the characters, then it's not a very good book. So, not reading for message. Number 2, should one read books about ideas or opinions they disagree with? I don't believe in reading books about ideas or opinions. So, just for example, I do read some nonfiction, and I have started 1 or 2 books about Trump, who I, of course, loathe. If you don't loathe Trump, delete my channel. But I don't need to read anything about Trump because I already hate him. And I listen to lots of news podcasts and stuff, and so I get my nonfiction political stuff from other sources, not from reading particularly. And so, no, I'm not interested in reading nonfiction books about ideas that I disagree with. No. But should one? I have no opinion on what you should do. It's a free country, and you do you, as Cousin would say of always doing. Number 3, as tech advances, what do you think will be the role of books? I don't think that it's going to change very much, but then I don't care if society changes, because if things are good for me, I refuse to change. I'm at that age. It started in my mid-30s, where things started changing, and I started getting grouchy about all the changes that were happening around me. So no, I don't... Maybe for other young'uns, the role of books will change, but I don't care about that. They're not going to change for me. They're maybe going to become more important as the rest of humanity goes into the sewer. But no. Well, Is there anything here about ebooks? I don't think so. So ebooks is a marvelous development in reading technology, and I think that in many ways reading ebooks is superior to reading physical books, but I see the benefits of both. So if there's any developments like that that I do not anticipate that deepen my or supplement my reading life, I'd be here for it. But the role of texts will not change in my lifetime. The way that I consume them might change a bit more in the future. Number 4 is particularly interesting to me. How important are summaries, review, and art in your book choosing? So summaries, I think, is the synopsis on the back, and not at all important. I never read them. I find it just anathema to read the synopsis. And so, not important. Review. There is a new tag by Nell and Scott of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot about reviewing stuff and reviews. Not very important. I don't read them. I don't watch them on BookTube. I don't care about them. So, not at all. And art. The cover art. It is more important than any of the other two in that if a beautiful cover definitely seduces me, and I'm a fair amount of the time disappointed. But yes, I do love book cover art. If that's what this is meant to be about, yes, I think it is. Number 5, should one ever skim or scan a book? I didn't take the time to look up the difference between skim and scan, so I'm going to talk about skimming. The only time I skim a book is if I'm hating it. And so hate skimming is a thing in my life. How about in yours? It's just the best way to get through a book that I'm hating that I don't want to just bail on, where I can't actually take in every puke-worthy paragraph. So that's the only time that skimming should be allowed, I think. Occasionally, if I'm pressed for time with a buddy read or something, I will skim a book that I'm actually enjoying if I think that there is some superfluous material. But as a general rule, I read every single word and meditate thereon. Number 6, should reading always be enjoyable? Yes, absolutely. But to me, enjoyable has many different registers and many different, there's many aspects of a reading experience that can be enjoyable, including hate reading or hate skimming. As long as I'm getting something out of it, I'm enjoying it. And if I'm not enjoying it, if I'm bored, bail. Life is too short. It has to be engaging in some way, whether it's intellectually. It's rare that a book will hold my interest very long if it's solely an intellectually engaging book, because the intellect is the lowest order of a human experience. Let's just get that right out there. But as long as I'm emotionally engaged in some way, then yes, I will keep reading, and that is my definition of being enjoyable. Number 7, is it important to be well read? Absolutely not. The stupidest people I know are well read. 8, what is your book buying process? Oh dear. I hadn't prepared for this one. I hadn't prepared for any of them, but this one is like, what is my book buying process? I'm not sure that I have a process. If I hear about a book that I want and I have enough money in my wallet or my bank account, I will buy it. I'm at a place in my life where I can afford to buy pretty much anything that I want, either whether it's ebook or audiobook or physical book. And I don't think this is a bit of a digression. If I read a book on ebook or I listen to it on audiobook and I love it, I will always buy the hardcover. So there are many times where I have started it on audiobook, wanted to follow along with the ebook, and then because I loved it so much, bought the paper book. I don't know if it's ever gone the other way where I read it as a hard copy and then got the ebook. Occasionally, if there's not enough, if I'm reading a tome and I have a day at work where I don't want to carry this huge book around, I will buy the ebook so that I can keep reading it that day. I have done that quite often. Just for example, the Booker shortlisted novel Anouk Arid Pergasum's The Passage North, or A Passage North, I always forget which one it is. I did it as a hard copy, and I previewed the audiobook and liked the narration. I thought, I'm going to do this again someday, fairly soon, and listen to the audiobook. So, yeah, no, that's my book buying process. If I love the book, I want it in every medium possible. I don't have any self-control unless I'm broke. So, I used to be a member of Scribd, so I could sample things, and then inevitably, if I read a book on Scribd or did it as an audiobook on Scribd and I loved the book, I would always buy it. So no, possession is 9/10 of Sean the Bookmaniac's reading law. 10. How do you use what you read? I don't understand the question because I don't believe in... as primarily a fiction reader, I don't use it. It enriches my soul. But I think this question is more designed to philosophical books or nonfiction books. And so let me switch gears a bit. I'm doing a lot of reading on Indigenous history and political stuff, nonfiction as well as Indigenous fiction. And so, yes, I do use that to bolster my arguments because I have become a bit of a shit disturber of my family and friends back in Canada. Because I shouldn't be laughing because it's actually very serious in terms of my awareness of what a shithole country Canada is in terms of its treatment of Indigenous peoples and any other people in Canada that aren't white. And so reading helps me deepen that. So there you go. That's probably the only nonfiction I read where I feel it has a use. Fiction doesn't have a use other than the care and feeding of my soul. 11. If you could download a book to your brain, would you still read? Well, this presupposes that I have a brain. Would I still read? I can't think of a situation other than dementia or something like that where I wouldn't still read. So my answer would be yes. And with my techno-peasant skills, I probably wouldn't figure out how to freaking download it. 12. What are your views on rereading a book? I'm a believer in rereading, and once I get out of my 20s, I do see myself focusing more on rereading because I think there is something to be said about a book that, especially a book that I loved but thought that I wasn't getting everything out of it, to reread more often, those kind of books. I'm not a big fan of rereading books that I loved, especially if those initial reading experiences were in my distant past, because I'm always worried that I might have grown out of them, and then the reread, which might be less than stellar in terms of enjoyment, might delete all of the nostalgic feelings about how much I loved it the first time. So I'm not into rereading books that I love, but books that I feel like it was interesting or I liked it, but I didn't get everything, and I would repay a rereading, yes, and I would like to do more of that in the future. 13. What makes a good bad? There is only one criteria. I am deeply emotionally engaged and impressed by it. 14. What makes a book bad? The exact opposite experience. To me, reading is solely 100% subjective, and I love arguing with people about that. But it's not really even an argument, it's just subjectively my criteria, so I can't argue with people that evaluate. And again, I'm talking specifically about fiction, but there's no common ground with which to debate whether reading objectively might be better than reading subjectively, because I read everything subjectively, so it's the end of the discussion. 15. How do you feel about not finishing a book? Oh, I thought you'd never ask. Bailing on a book is the best thing about my reading life. I recommend it to everyone. A 5-star book for you might not be a 5-star book for me, but there is only a limited number of 5-star reading experiences out there for any of us. And wasting our precious reading time with 2, 3, and sometimes even 4-star books is just a monumental, it's a crime against humanity. So bail your way to all the 5-star reads. That is my philosophy of reading in a nutshell. 16. Should the author's personal life matter at all? Absolutely, especially living authors. If I hear about some kind of a Me Too or any kind of a scandal about something that I care about, homophobia, transphobia, sexual harassment, sex crimes, anything like that, I will not read them. And, I'm willing to change my mind if there's charges pressed and then there's an acquittal, and I will make my peace with that, or I make my own judgment about it and then maybe think about it. I don't know if that's ever happened, but that's something I'm willing to take on. But as a general rule, I don't have the same strict standards to dead authors because I don't know why I don't, but I don't. But absolutely, an author's personal life is very important to me, and I don't care if it's not important to you. It's not something that's worth arguing over, but if it gets in the way of me assessing their writing because I'm thinking about the fact that they were doing these terrible things that I disapprove of, or at least that they were accused of, no, I won't read them. And there are many, many examples of that in my reading life. 17. If you could only read one genre for the rest of the time, what would it be? Hello? Sci-fi? No, there's only one genre, really. Literary fiction. The rest of it is just trash. 18. Do you ever read a book without knowing anything about it? Well, I don't like to read the synopsis. I'm interested to a certain degree in hearing capsule reviews or scanning a review or fast forwarding to a review to at least find out whether my BookTube besties liked it or didn't like it. And I do pay attention to star ratings, but I prefer to know almost nothing, and I have a knack for example, if I happen to watch a full review or most of a review by one of my BookTube besties, by the time I get around to reading the book, I have successfully suppressed all memory of that review. So, the less I know about the book, the better, and then the more likely I am to bail, and that's the way my reading life goes. 19. What author, genre, series, or culture can you just not get into? Why? How much time do you have? Author. What author can I not get into? Mohsin Hamid, Charles Dickens, Henry James. They're mostly going to be men. Is there any women that I just can't get into? Oh, Zadie Smith. Those come to mind for authors. That's good enough. Series. I don't read series, or if I do, they're literary fiction series, and I've never had a bad experience with that. What culture can you just not get into? Bacteria. Well, genre. I should go back to genre for a minute. I mean, I'm not interested in sci-fi. I have recently conquered my disdain for and disinterest in memoir. I had a whole bunch of bad experiences reading memoir, and then last month, November, I read 3 memoirs that I loved, and earlier this year I read one more. At least one more. So, yeah, I'm no longer against reading memoir. So that is a victory. And also this year I realized how much I like middle grade fiction, but I still loathe YA. Why do I loathe YA? I didn't have a very happy high school experience, but I'm not sure that my middle grade years were very happy either. I think it's just where my brain is. I'm more of a middle grade intellect than YA intellect. Let's carry on. 20. Do you think everyone should read? Absolutely not. Lots of people hate reading. My husband Kenji hates reading. I don't think he's read a book since he graduated from high school, and I know lots of people like that, and I don't think anybody should be forced to read, so no, I don't think everyone should read. Well, that was fun, and now, who am I going to tag? I'm just going to tag people willy-nilly. I don't think that Nell and Scott of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot have done this tag yet. I would love to see what they came up with. I would like to tag Noah of Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse. Stella of 30 Books. I don't know that she ever does tags. Caddy of Caddy Books. Gina Stanier of Gina Stanier Books. Kim of Native Lady Book Warrior. Ms. Reads a Lot. Roz of Scally Dandling About the Books. I think she's probably already done it. Hannah of Hannah's Books. Heidi of My Reading Life. Duncan McCurdy. Bob of Bob the Booker. I don't think all of those people, some of those people may have done it. But this was fun, Brandon. Thanks for the tag. And everybody go check out Brandon's channel. It's awesome. Thanks for watching.